Okay, so today we're looking at the Roland TR-8 and integrating that into Bitwig Studio. Now, I was starting to record this a little bit earlier on, but we had a bit of interruption and a bit of technical failure. So we're starting again. Okay, so the TR-8 is a great little machine. I was quite concerned about how to actually use this machine in Bitwig on a PC. Setting it up using an existing sound card is almost impossible. However, I've worked it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set this up to use the TR-8 inside Bitwig and also allow your existing audio interface to send the signal to your speakers, to your monitors. So you don't have to unplug everything and plug it all into the back of the Roland TR-8. Now, what I mean by that is that, well, you can actually do this. You can actually send the right and left. It's not auto-focusing. Come on, focus. It's not going to do it. So you can send the right and the left out to your inputs into your audio interface, but that has problems in itself with what we call latency. So I wanted to have something that didn't have as much latency as that. So I'm using the USB cable, which was provided. It wasn't provided. It doesn't come with a USB cable. You got to find one. So I hooked up the USB cable to my Windows 10 PC, and it automatically downloaded the drivers. Now that is cool. I don't have to worry about that. If you're running Windows 7 or 8, you will have to go to Roland's website and download the drivers, and then plug in your USB cable. So to get this working, we have to do a few things. We have to change some settings on the actual machine. So we just covered the USB drivers and installing it. Now it was actually quite easy to set up. Now I just need to open up my little sheet here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to do some routing. So if I push play, you can hear that the whole drum machine is coming through my system. Now, I can't use this at the moment, and I can't even use it in my DAW. What happens if I try to use this in my DAW? I'm going to get everything playing through at the same time, and it's just going to be annoying. So, what I need to do is I need to do some fancy routing. So I'm going to have to turn this machine off. So I'm going to turn it off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down this pattern key over here where my finger is pointing, this pattern key here, and then turn the power on. I'll reach over, turn the power back on. Okay, so now I'm in this special mode that no one knows about, and basically these buttons lit up here are telling me that everything that's lit up is getting sent out to the output 1 and 2 mix channel. Okay, so I want to turn those off. So I'm going to hold down either A or B over here where my finger is here, push A, and I'm going to select all these and turn them on. What that actually does now is it sends everything, all the drums and everything out to channel A, and I don't have channel A out the back here hooked up to anything, so I'm not going to be able to hear anything. So if I push start stop again now and let it do its thing, and push start, I can't hear any drums, nothing. It's completely quiet. Yet it is actually playing. So that's the first step. Second step is you need to tweak your volume knob. Now my volume knob is that setting. It's not full. It's just a little bit back from full, and that's so I don't blow up my sound card when I bring everything in. So that's the routing done. Now that's actually quite important to get this to work how I've set it up. Now you can set up how you want, but this works for me, and this is how we're going to get it to work with my existing audio interface. Now the second step, we need to check out the, I'll just turn this off for a second, turn off gear cam. I need to look at this, recording devices. On the recording devices, I have gone down to in mix, and what this does, if I push play again, Okay, you can't hear anything. That's probably how it's supposed to work. I've selected listen to this device, and what this is going to allow me to do now is that anything coming through the in-mix is going to be heard. I've also changed the levels to 100%, and that's set that up, so that's very important. Now, as far as everything else is concerned, it's left as it was. So my default playback device is my Complete Audio 6. So I haven't changed anything else. Okay, so that's that. So let's just cancel that. Now, the next thing we need to do is set up the DAW, the DAW. Now, I've already done this, so it's kind of, I'll have to go over everything I've done just so that you know how to do it. But I don't want to change it because I've already written down what everything is. So, in Bitwig's options, we go to preferences, we go to audio, and we select the TR-8. There we go. Now, you won't have any of these set up at all, so you're going to have to set these up. So the settings pretty much are sample rate, automatic, buffer size. I believe I turned off auto and upped it a bit. Now for the inputs, what I've done is I've made the first one stereo. So basically, to start off with, it'll be completely blank. So the first one you add is add stereo, and that'll add the stereo input. Now, do not use this because you get a feedback loop, but it's there anyway, so you know what it is. Now, the next one is kick. Yes, I know I spelled kick wrong. I did it on purpose just for fun. So to add kick, I add a mono, and then I type in kick, and then I keep going down. So you'll see, if I turn this back on, you can see here that each one of these is labeled. So we've got bass drum, snare, low tom, mid tom, high tom. And so I've pretty much done the same thing here. Every time I add a mono, I've labeled it the corresponding label. So we get all the way down here to, I added the stereo outputs, but I don't think I actually use these at all. And then we're going to click OK. But before we do that, we need to check the controllers. So this is where we've got to. Okay, so the controllers. The first one is a generic MIDI keyboard. Now that's my keyboard that I use. It didn't have its own little setting in here. I had to add it. Now the next one is the generic MIDI clock transmitter. So to add one of those, we click Add Controller Generic MIDI Clock Transmitter. Once we've done that, we then select the TR-8 in the drop-down menu here, and then we want to also I was going to do some advanced stuff later on, and this allows me to route or MIDI map all the buttons on the TR-8. So I wanted to add this in and do some experimentation. So I added a controller. Do you want to add, so I basically couldn't find it, so I said yes, I do want to add a generic one, and then I select TR-8 here, and then that gives me the ability to map the MIDI keys on the TR-8. Okay, so that's that. Nothing else needs to be done. So now what would happen is that if I let's see if I can turn this on. So now you can see up here the actual lights along the top here, and so if I push play now inside here, the lights will actually start flashing. Now if I up the tempo, those lights should get faster and faster and faster. Yeah, there we go. Now if I lower it again, they should get slower. So now we're sending the tempo from Bitwig into the Roland TR-8, and that's what we want. So if we hit stop now, it'll stop playing, and that's what we want. So that's all good. Gold. Okay, so we still don't have any sound. What we need to do is we need to start adding a few things here. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. We can route this TR-8 now in many different ways. Actually, I might just leave this one on. No, this one, so you can see what's going on up top there. So we can do this. We can do this many ways. the first way to do it is to select an audio channel. We can name this to start with. Let's try and name it kick. Okay, so that's a kick. It's at the moment it's set to stereo input. We don't want that. We want to select kick and then turn this on, and we should be able to hear the kick coming from this TR-8 now, right? So this is the pattern that was already in here. We're going to clear that pattern. So now when we play it, there's nothing there. So if we select bass drum, throw in some kicks. Okay, so we're going pretty fast. So let's stop the transport. Let's use Bitwig's transport because that works better. We're going to bring it down to 120. It's 26. Why not? Okay, so that's that. So if I push stop now, the TR-8 stops. Push play here, and it'll go. So I'm looking my mouse, follow my mouse, top left hand corner, stop, play, stop. Good. So that's the kick drum there. So what we can do then is we can adjust that volume, and we can add things like compressors and whatnot, EQs, directly to this sound. Alright, so we can process that directly. Alright, so before I get carried away and actually start playing, we'll carry on with this. So then you just keep adding these. So let's hang on, let's just add another audio track. This one, we're going to select snare, and we can name it snare. Okay. It will only work if this is selected. Okay, the little speaker thing, which is a bit of a problem, really. So let's add some snares in. Yeah, the snare's quite weak compared to the rest of it. And that's how we do it. Now, to record those in, of course, what you do is you just hit record, and it lays it in there. Pretty easy. And then what we do then is we can just play that back with our snare. And at the moment, if I turn down the bass drum, it's not doing anything because the wave is now inside Bitwig. It's using the wave instead of the instrument itself. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty simple. That's one way to get it in there. And now if you look at the waveform, it's a little bit out, so we may have to adjust some latency there. It's actually recording before the beat, so our first kick is going to sound a lot different from our second one. So what's another way to get this in? Let's mute those, and we're going to add now an instrument track. And what I want to do now is I want to use MIDI. So instead of using let's clear the pattern again. So pattern select, clear pattern 1. So if I hit play again, there's nothing. Perfect. So another way to do this is use MIDI to send MIDI notes directly into the TR-8, and this is the one. This is the way I prefer to use it. So what I want to do is I believe it's C1 where the notes reside, and so we can write these notes in, and by now you should all know how to do this sort of stuff. So that's pretty much it, but there's nothing happening, right? There's nothing happening. Okay, so there's one thing here that we need to always make sure we do if we're adding the Roland TR-8 to the door, and this is a bit of a trip up for everybody. Where it says all ins here, we want it to be our keyboard. Now, which one is it again though? So let's go just quickly check it. So controllers, MIDI keyboard. Now I should be able to change this. So it's the top one, it's the first one. Okay, let's just use the top one. So it's going to be MIDI keyboard. Now I know that that's my actual keyboard. So if I try and find, no, it's not coming up. MIDI keyboard. Why aren't you sending signal keyboard? I'm pretty sure it's this one. It can't be that one. We'll work this out in a second. Do I have to do this? It's actually not working. Maybe it's got lost when I'm trying to do this. Okay, so let's not worry about that for now. But you do need to set this, otherwise what's going to happen is if you do all ins, the TR-8 is going to send all kinds of notes to your instrument, and that happens especially if you're using something like Silent. It completely stuffs it up, and you're going to wonder what's going on. Okay, so if we click down here now, we're going to have to add something to actually be able to send information to the hardware. I'm going to click on this. We're going to hit Bitwig device. Routing, hardware instrument. I'm going to select OK. Now the MIDI output is, let's see if I can get this right. Yeah, okay, so the MIDI output is the TR-8. We have to choose channel 10. That you need to do. The audio input is going to be kick. And that should be fine. And we can also adjust the latency here, which is really cool. But we are not going to worry about that right now. So, if I push play now, we are actually getting the notes from our MIDI playing our instrument, which is over here. And so if I turn on this one, you can now see me adjusting these dials, and you can see that the playhead here, if we hit bass drum, there are no notes lit up here, so we're not actually using this to these buttons here to trigger our beats. We're using our DAW, and that is what I wanted to do. Okay, so that's how we set that up. So that's pretty cool now. That's how we set that up. And as you can tell, I'm using my audio interface still, and the signal is coming from Bitwig, it's coming from the drum machine, and it's going out to my speakers through my other audio interface, which is what I wanted to show you. So if we open this up again, okay, turn this off. If we come down here to recording devices, our in mix, this is everything getting mixed through. And as we said before, we have to listen to this device, and that allows us to hear everything that's coming through Bitwig Studio into our monitors. That's the key right there. I know this it kind of is complicated. It is very complicated. But if you follow what I've done, you'll be able to get it working. But man, I tell you what, this took me a long time to work out. I tried all sorts of different routing. I tried software, combining cards and things together, and it just didn't work. My computer got too slow and crashed all the time. So let's turn that off. You don't want to hear the metronome. But actually, if we turn the metronome on, you can hear the latency is pretty good. It's pretty much on the beat. Now, there's a few little things that we need to talk about here. Is the swing does work. So if we use the swing, which is over here, this will actually swing everything that we send in MIDI notes to the actual machine. The things that don't work are the Well, the external sidechain may work, I'm not sure if it will, but the delay will not work, the reverb will not work, and the accent will not work. Because we're sending MIDI information to the machine and we're bypassing the outputs, which are in here, left and right, we're not going to hear those. So that's the only downside to using as a hardware instrument. Now, I can live with that because I can do things in my DAW to compensate that. The only other way to get this to work with all the all the effects and everything is to actually just sample the machine. And it's easy to sample the machine, but it's hard to integrate it into a project if you're doing it that way, because the latency and trying to fix the latency is just such a pain. So I prefer to do it this way. Alright, so if we want to add now a snare, what we need to do is we need to add another instrument track. So we're going to add a new instrument track. We are going to select ins is going to be MIDI key keyboard. Get up the volume a little bit. It's going out to the master, and we're going to add a Bitwig device, a routing hardware instrument, and we're going to click OK. Now you kind of can't see that because I'm in the way, but what we have here is we're going to choose the MIDI output. The output device is going to be the TR-8, so we're sending it to the TR-8. The input device is going to be the snare, because we're doing the snare this time. The channel, make sure the channel is channel 10. That's the default channel for the TR-8. And we're not going to worry about the latency. So now if we create a new instrument, new MIDI note here, we're going to look for, okay, so C1 is the kick. We want the snare, so the snare is on D1. So we're going to add that there and another note here. So if we start from the beginning, there's our snare. And we can adjust that snare. Let's go to, is it this one? Yeah. Not that you can actually see what I'm doing here, but we can change the decay. Let's just quickly switch over to the other one. So I can change the decay and the compression, and that comes through also the tone. So once you get to where you like it, that's cool, that's fine. Let's turn that back off again. That's adding the snare. Now the next thing is bouncing these out. Now there's a bit of a problem with this. I'm not sure if it's going to be updated later on or not, but bouncing these out is actually kind of a little bit difficult when using the hardware instrument. So if I right click on this and then choose bounce in place, nothing happens. If I right click and choose bounce, nothing happens. So we're kind of a little bit stuck there. It's the only way to get it out now is to route it to another channel. So how I do it is I'm going to choose a new audio track. I'm going to use let's see, I'm going to do the snare. I'm going to send the snare to the new audio track I just created, which is audio 7. I'm going to choose no input. No, I have to choose an input. I'll just choose snare. Which is fine. And then if I hit record there and there, there we go. That's our snare. I don't like how it does this. This is one of those features where I know there's an easy way to do this, but me always does it. Okay, there's our snare. And if we solo that, there's our snare, and we can use a mixture of hardware and bounce files. So that's how we do it. And you can tell that the latency is out. It's actually recording before the beat, so we can just slightly adjust that by going into the instrument, into instrument hardware routing here, and change the latency, and we should be able to get it bang on. I'm not going to muck around with that right now. That's up to you. So you can go ahead and do that. Once we've recorded that in, we don't have to worry about the settings. This is the other thing. This is really annoying. Okay, so if you're making a project, don't do this. Don't do this, okay? Don't walk away from your settings. Expect them to be the same when you come back. Someone may come in and tweak something and your sound is completely stuffed, okay? These do not remember the settings. So if you tweak like the decay and then walk away and someone turns the decay like that and you don't know, you come back and it sounds completely different and your kick is now destroyed, it's kind of tough luck. So once you've got the sound you like, bounce it out and use the sample. It's going to save you a bunch of time and hassles. I did actually work on a project for an entire week with it set up like that, and no one was allowed to touch it. That's quite dangerous, because if I'd have accidentally knocked it or someone come in and tweaked it, then that was it, my track was ruined. Okay, so that's pretty much another sort of like thing to look out for. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I know it's been a little bit chaotic in the way that I've presented it. I don't have a lot of time today to do this, and I've been meaning to do this video for a long time. But I do really sincerely hope it's helped you get around the headache of trying to work out how to integrate your TR-8 into Bitwig and also keep your existing interface. I can't tell you enough how much this has helped me, and I spent hours trying to work this out. I know that there are other ways to do this, but for what I want to do personally, this is the best way for me to set it up, so that I can continue to do tutorials and show you how to use this stuff and integrate it into Bitwig Studio. Now the cool thing about this is I can also use my machine, my Native Instruments machine, and my TR-8 together now, all synced with MIDI clock, and I'll do a video on that later. We'll make a track probably, we'll use the TR-8 and we'll use the machine together, and we'll make an awesome track. So yeah, I'll catch you later. I won't waffle on anymore. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'm happy to answer them. I'll do my best to help you set up your gear, but there's a lot of variables which are outside of my control, so we'll do our best, eh? Alright, I'll see you later. Bye.